Here we are with Trent Muffet today from Trent Muffet Buyers Agents. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Maybe just give us a brief background on how you fell into buyer's agent or buyer advocacy work,
Yep.
history in real estate, and why you sort of got into it.
Yeah, so 14 years in real estate for me. I actually studied real estate at university. Got a Bachelor of Real Estate, majored in valuation, worked for some of the big selling agencies like Colliers, Savills, McGrath. Kind of gave me a good foundation on the selling side. And then I don't know, I just felt like I was always better with buyers than kind of sellers. And so yeah, jumped ship about six or 7 years ago. Was lucky enough to work for some of the major like buyers agency brands, which gave me good kind of grounding and fundamentals, I guess.
Now you got
And
your own
then
business.
yeah, just went out on my own 1st of Feb this year, which has been awesome. Yeah, things are going really well. So
What do you like most about the job? What's the most satisfying part of being as buyer's agent?
yeah, I mean, probably because when I bought my first property in 2008, I actually made a bit of a mistake. Bought a property, didn't do too well out of it, sold it at a bit of a loss, but I guess I learnt so much from that kind of experience, and kind of learnt like, okay, how to do it, how not to do it, what worked, what kind of didn't work. And now I guess using all of that to help other buyers not make the same mistake that I did back in '08. And so now when a buyer comes on, I guess I got that experience like, hey, don't do this because that's the road that I went down. And if you're going to make this big financial decision, which most people only do it like once or twice in their entire life, I guess just using that experience to help them advance their financial position. So
A lot of
yeah.
them first-time buyers.
So I've had a bit of a change. Mostly it was investors.
Okay.
Now the investment market's changed a lot, especially on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
So now it's probably 60-70% of my new inquiries are your first home buyers. But the first 2 to 3 months, and traditionally for me, I've always been on the investor side.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just changed a lot, especially the marketplace the last 3 months, capital gains tax, oil, the war, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. And so, over the last 4 or 5 years, have you noticed a big change to buyers using buyers agents? Like I know myself, when I first started in 2010, I don't think we dealt with any buyers
Yeah.
agents. And now maybe, is it 1 in 4? Maybe 1 in 4, 1 in 5 properties are sourced
Yeah.
from a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that change to?
Yeah, probably a few things. I think people probably understand like how big a decision it is to actually make, and most buyers are starting to realize like within the transaction, if they go it on their own, they're actually unrepresented. They're just out there trying to do it on their own. Obviously, on the vendor side of things, they have someone like you to represent them, but on the buyer side of things, it's essentially no one. So I think more people are wanting someone on their team to help them with the actual purchase side of things. And then there's other things like to buy a property through a buyer's agent is way faster than trying to do it on their own. And there's all those stats are out there. I actually read something maybe a year ago, 1 or 2 years ago from realestate.com.au. The average buyer actually takes about 10 months to buy if they just want to go and do it on their own. But for me and probably some other buyers agents around, I'm 30 days or less. So it's kind of like, what do you want to do? Do you want to do it on your own for 10 months or like on average? Or do you want to try and engage with someone who could probably get you a better result like much faster?
So efficiency, you mentioned there that you might have to counsel them on some of the problems that they go through,
Yeah.
educate them a little bit on borrowing power,
Yep.
give them information as to what's sold, and negotiating for them as well with
Yeah.
with the selling agent. I've seen you in action, and you're a ball buster.
Yeah, and that's probably the hardest thing as well. Like for a lot of people, like for a lot of buyers who come through, they're not used to trying to, I guess, well, trying to understand how to actually negotiate when the property is on the line, like how to position themselves correctly. But if you do it so often and you're so used to doing it, and you can understand how to do it and the right questions to ask the agent to kind of uncover some of those key I don't know, key answers or key insights. Like that's probably the next part to it, is actually not having to deal with that and just outsourcing it to someone who does it, I don't know, day in, day out, I guess.
I think that's really important. I have noticed that there's been an influx of buyers agents into the marketplace. Like it seems like every weekend there's a new person that's opened a new buyers advocacy
Yeah.
group or agent, and maybe they're not doing it a lot. So are you finding that when you're speaking to a prospective purchaser that you're almost pitching against other buyers agents, or is it more so you get an inquiry from your high social media and they like what you talk about with insights into market? Or
Yeah, probably a bit of mix. It's probably the same with you guys as well. Like
Yep.
if you guys got a house, you might be pitching it against one or two other selling agents to try and kind of get the business. So
Yep.
there's that part of it. Most buyers will probably speak to one or two buyers agents to see who do I like, who do I not like, who do I gel with, all that kind of stuff. But I think my main channel is just your social stuff. Like people will just come directly to me after seeing some of the social stuff that I put out, and
it's very consistent.
thank you. And so that I think that builds a bit of like credibility, a bit of trust. Then they see me transacting, they're like, oh yeah, I need to speak with this guy. But yeah, it's like most things, it's a competitive landscape. Doesn't matter if you're selling agent, mortgage broker, buyer's agent. You're in that space where people just want to figure out who do they want to work with, and sometimes it's just a personality thing.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I got along with Trent, but I didn't get along that well with the other guy who I spoke to on the phone, so I'll go with Trent. And sometimes it's the opposite. So yeah, it's a few things there.
Okay. Is there any negative is there any possible negative? You talked about all the positives about the buyer's agent, like negotiating on your behalf, dealing with the agents, which can sometimes be difficult.
Yeah.
Time on the market. You can find something for someone so much quicker. You can give them up-to-date feedback on what stuff's selling from the area. Is there any possible negative towards using a buyer's agent?
I mean, probably a couple of things. If you're using a buyer's agent who's probably out of area, it's probably similar on the listing side of things, right? So if you're using a buyer's agent who sits in an office in Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane and they're trying to buy something locally on the Gold Coast, they may, or most likely will miss some of those key local area insights that you just can't get by being in an office in Melbourne, for example. So that's one thing. And I think if you choose the wrong one on that side, there's a clear disadvantage. And then the other thing is just the cost. It's a fee for service model. People need to pay a buyer's agent to actually engage with me to go and find them and negotiate and do the whole thing. Some people are a little bit turned off by that and don't see the value of that. And that's why actually most people actually just go and buy a property on their own. They think they could just do it better, and I don't want to pay the fee and I don't see the value. And I'm like, yeah, go for it. And I'm pretty upfront with a lot of people. Like if I feel like they don't need a buyer's agent, I just say, mate, you're actually pretty good. Like just go do it on your own. I tend to just give people a few tips, like speak to this agent, email that guy, and you can probably just do it on their own. So I just don't think buyer's agent is for everyone, because some people are pretty advanced with
self-sufficient.
Yeah, their search, and they have time and they're happy to go to the open home. So I'm not going to push a service on someone if I don't feel like it's a good fit. So
I think that's a good way to be.
Yeah, it's like that's just my approach though.
Yeah. No, that's good. That was a good answer. Jesus. You mentioned before that the market changes with the changes to CGT, negative gearing. Last night they said about super funds. Loaning on residential property.
Yeah.
What are you seeing on the ground at the moment? You mentioned that your inquiry from investors has reduced a lot.
Yeah.
Are you seeing less numbers at open homes? Are you getting more calls from agents asking you if you've got a client for this or that?
Yeah, probably a bit of a mix there. So definitely on the investor side, it's dropped. Maybe my investor inquiries dropped 40, 50%.
Okay.
And I used to deal a lot. My main marketplace was actually interstate investors. A lot of people
wanting to buy something on the coast.
Yeah, that was probably 60-70% of people who would try and engage me were actually, hey, Trent, I want to buy a property on the Gold Coast. I see you're there. I'm in Sydney. Can you help me out, kind of thing? So that marketplace has dropped a lot, at least 50% for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the inquiry side of things. And a lot of that is around the negative gearing. So they can't obviously get access to the negative gearing if you are an investor. I'm sure there's still people moving up from Sydney and Melbourne who will still buy, but they're going to be your own ox. Buy numbers at open homes, definitely seen a bit of a drop. I don't think it's been too bad in some of the marketplaces, some of the agents that I've spoken to. I've probably more seen that the properties that are okay, they'll sit on the market for longer. Where if it was 3 or 4 months ago, an okay property was probably going to sell first weekend, maybe second weekend. And maybe now it's 4 weeks to sell, maybe a little bit longer. It just depends. But I still feel like the good quality properties, whether that's an $850,000 one or a $2 million one, they're still gone pretty quickly because people want the good ones. Definitely the unrenovated stuff and the older homes take longer now. A lot of people don't want to do renos. Like, for example, something in Southport popped up about 4 weeks ago. Agent listed it for 1.25. Downstairs needed a fairly decent reno on it. I thought upstairs was fine. That property sat there for about 4 weeks and then dropped by about 100 grand and then sold. I think A, the market, B, they didn't want to touch the renovation that was needed downstairs. And if you don't have the skill set to do that, the trades and the connections, then you just move on to the next one. So those types of things I'm starting to see like more of.
Probably a bit more selection on the listing side, so the buyer goes, hey, I can buy this one for 1,125 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I've got to spend 100 downstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one over there. Same price. It doesn't need any work. I'll go to that one. Whereas
100%.
6 months ago, listings is so short
Yeah,
that the buyer was grabbing this one over here just to get into the market.
pretty much. So yeah, they're probably some of the main, I guess, things that I've seen over the last, I don't know, probably like 12 weeks.
Are you finding investors and people being less decisive? Because we're finding that with buyers, you follow them up, you've got the property that they've been looking for, and they just sort of sit on their hands, they don't make a decision. So it feels like that uncertainty around global events is probably causing
Yeah.
certainty.
Probably a lot around, I mean, with your own ox as well, but definitely for investors. And now because investors are way more focused on, well, if I buy this thing, how much is it going to cost me to hold every single month? They become way more cautious on like the number side of things, where before if it was negatively geared by 15, 20 grand a year, they're like, yeah, that's fine. I'll just like use those negative gearing benefits. That's all been taken off the table. So now for an investor, their yield requirement is way higher because they can't get those kind of tax changes.
Do you think it's going to do what the government's saying, where it's going to open up more property to first home buyers, or do you think it's more of a tax grab?
I don't know if it'll open up more. I mean, yeah, I guess from what I'm seeing now, it's like more first home buyers. I mean, my inquiries from first home buyers are going up a lot because they're not competing now. They're not competing against the investors because the investors are kind of like taking a bit of a back seat, right? So you do have more of an opportunity now if you are a first home buyer because your competition against pretty savvy investors who have got money and just want to like buy. That's reduced by like 40-50%. So yeah.
What would you say the reasons for someone investing on the Gold Coast would be compared to, say, a Sydney or a Melbourne or Adelaide,
Yeah.
Perth, wherever? What would you say the reasons? Like if someone rang you up today and said, "Oh, Trent, I'm looking at buying something on the coast."
Yeah.
What would you be saying?
Yeah, so rents are so high on the Gold Coast, and that means if you can buy the right property, your yield is actually pretty high. And if you're an investor, you generally want as high yield as possible. And if rents are high and property prices are kind of okay, your gross yield tends to be very attractive if you benchmark it against a Sydney or a Melbourne or like a Perth, for example. So a lot of properties now, even the ones that I've bought recently, they're going to be yielding about 4.5%, 4.5%, 5%. You can't get those yields.
Historically, that's really high.
Yeah. And that's why I think the duplex market's started to take off a little bit more because your yields are generally good. You got no body corporate fees. So those have started to transact a little bit faster, I think.
Yep.
And then I think just the underlying fundamentals of the Gold Coast are very, very good. You got 300-400 people moving here every single week. I think the economic activity is huge. 75 cranes in the skyline at the moment. There was that the report that just came out from the council with all their economic activity.
Yep.
And then it's just landlocked as well. Like you have a very tight corridor on the Gold Coast to actually like build out in. So on the beach side, you can't hit Hedges Avenue and like you can't build out on the water. And then you go on to the west, which is Hinterland, Springbrook. You can't build out any significant supply there. So you have this quite restricted geographical boundary on the Gold Coast. That's never going to change. And so if your supply is quite restricted, but so many people are moving here, and then it gets worse once you hit that kind of Pimpamar corridor, it actually gets quite skinny again, and then it fans out towards the bottom of Logan there. Those restraints they're not going to be lifted because you've got nothing to kind of build out in. So yeah, you got that underlying demand kind of coming through on the population side, restricted supply.
It's all that work filtering in for the Olympics. It's just
that's it. So those two things, I think it just makes it a very, very unique marketplace and something that you don't see in other places. I mean, even if you look at like a Newcastle and something as similar as you can benchmark it to the Gold Coast, Newcastle, you can drive like 30, 40 kilometers like west and you can still buy something like an hour and a half away. If you drive 15 minutes west, you're going to hit Springbrook and then you can't, well, you can buy in the mountains if you want to, but there's just like, there's nothing, not many people want to, I guess, have that tree change, I guess. Most people are after the coastal lifestyle.
What has been your weirdest request from a buyer during a purchase?
So I don't know about the weirdest request from a buyer, but I'll give you the weirdest thing that I've come across in purchasing a property. So I purchased a property settled, but when I went through the property on pre-settlement, I saw these like photos and like pictures on the wall. So I was like, that's a bit strange. There was like 5 or 6 of them. And anyway, I ended up, okay, let's settle on the property. We're good to go. Did the pre-settlement. And then I had to go back the next day to get some keys and stuff. And I saw that the photos were still like on the wall and there's like 5 or 6 of them. And I went to try and take the photo off and it was like glued on with like industrial strength glue. I couldn't get these like photos and picture frames off. So I went to the little shed and I had a crowbar. So I had to crowbar the picture frame off. But behind the picture frame was like big holes in the wall. So obviously like the kids had gone through and like punched the walls and then mum and dad like put picture frames up and sealed it all up. So I had to rip off 5 or 6 picture frames. And the property already settled, funds already paid out. And I had my buyer, I had to go and explain to my buyer, like, hey, I'm really sorry. There's 6 holes in the wall. All the photo frames were like industrial glued onto the wall. So anyway, I had to get a plaster out there and just patch it all up. I was actually really embarrassed because I was just like trusting that, oh yeah, I'll just like lift off the picture frame and it's all good. So anyway, small problem post settlement. But that was probably my most uncomfortable one, just uncovering that.
What about most memorable purchase?
Oh, that's easy. It's probably something with you that we did, last year, like 3-turn drive was awesome. Not from just from a couple of different points of view. One, from a personal point of view, because I've known you and your family for so long. And then 2, just on the asset side of things as well. It was just like the most, unicorn property, like for us, at what we were after. So you had that nice big block of land, Burley Waters address.
Yep.
Plus it had the little granny flat there, which is super unique and it's really hard to get because it cash flowed so well. On a $2.2-ish million purchase, the yield is like 4.5%, which is kind of unheard of. Once you start going up in purchase price, it's really hard to get a high yield. So got a super happy buyer on that one. We got a reval on it. He was plus 400 grand within maybe 4 months or something.
Yeah, good.
So he's really happy because he got the high yield, got some initial like capital uplift, and that's just a long-term like hold for him. So yeah, that's probably my most memorable one, I would say, on the personal front and then on the actual asset side of things as well.
Okay, if you had to spend an hour in the sauna with a real estate agent, like for example, like if it was me, like a John McGrath or someone like that, they've been in the industry a long time, you'd be great to like get that information out of them. Who would you choose and why?
I'll do 2. I'll do one on the buyer's agency side, then one on the selling side.
Yep.
Actually, the company that I used to work for, the CEO, Jack Henson, he was always like fantastic and he's got so much knowledge. He's built a great business.
Yep.
He just knows all the ins and outs of like everything with like the buyers and more like on the business side of things, the marketing, the conversion, the ad spend. So I always found it a really fascinating conversation like with him. So if I had him in the sauna, for sure.
Questions.
Yeah, I'd just be like bombarding him with with questions. And then on the selling,
even though you don't work for him.
No, yeah. Even though I don't work for him anymore. And then on the selling side, man, good question. I don't know. I might say there's this guy, Tony West. I'd probably pick his brains, and more from a couple of points of view. One is that getting more like, I guess, local insights and how he ran his business. And then, probably on the business side of things as well. Obviously, he started with, was he with LJ Hooker back in the day?
He started with professionals with Reg Webster, and then he opened Roper and West.
Yeah.
And then he opened a LJ Hooker franchise. And they're in James Street, and then they moved to Treetops there.
Yeah.
He sold out of that in 2003.
Yeah.
Going back in 2010.
That's it.
And
So I don't know. I reckon Tony would be a big. Hey Tony, mate, if you're listening, mate, it's a sauna session. I don't know. I'd love to pick his brains a lot and just see. I mean, because it's been 30 odd years in real estate for him. I always like
It's more. He's been in real estate since 1980.
yeah,
It's a long time.
like the localized guys have just seen so much change, but built businesses in that kind of local area. Yeah, you could speak to John McGrath and all that kind of stuff. And they're like fantastic operators. But yeah,
You like the local experts.
give Tony a call.
Yeah, cool. One last question. If money wasn't an issue, like you could afford whatever,
Yep.
where would you buy? Like, let's say, for example, you know, a $25 million
Yeah.
house unit, or you could buy Main River. Where would you buy? You're into your swimming. Would it be beachfront, riverfront? What would it be?
Yeah, it has to be beachside for me.
Yeah.
I don't. There's not much of an association with me in the river. I'm all like, yeah, it's nice. It's a river. I can't swim in there. There's sharks everywhere. I'm not much of a boatie. Probably take the jet ski out once a month. So I'm like, nah, river's out. It's got to be like Albatross, Hedges, that little strip there. I don't know. I'm a pretty simple guy. I don't need a big house or anything. It's probably
2-bedroom shack on Hedges.
Yeah, just like low set, not
hopefully low rates.
yeah, something like that. But yeah, if money was no option, I'd probably go something like that. That'd be an easy decision.
Cool. Trent, thank you so much.
Mate, you're a legend. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.